I don't know what to call it, Green New Deal? I mean, just imagine if you hack the elections and you put a dozen AOCs, and I heard last week AOC, maybe that stands for against our Constitution, but you have newly elected congressman that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez that has proposed this Green New Deal that literally strips our liberties.
Well, it does, and it takes the cap and trade bill to a whole new dimension. You know, we just had John Dingell's funeral, and some people wonder how in the world I could be friends with a guy that was as liberal as John Dingell, and friends with Debbie Dingell too. And the answer is, they're honest people.
Yeah.
John Dingell was an honorable, honest, decent man. And, you know, he could be a little cantankerous, but he was an honest man. I can work with honest men. I admire them. He had wanted to push through some kind of universal health care bill for decades, you know, longest serving man. And when the Democrats won the majority in November of '06, well, he ended up being chairman of the committee that would usher through a health care bill. He was totally excited about that. But the cap and trade bill had some of the dynamics that this Green New Deal had. And he famously said, this cap and trade, you know, it had the carbon tax on. It's not only a tax, it's a great big one, and it goes on the people who can at least afford it. He knew when you jack up the price of electricity and gasoline, things that people have got to have, then it's the poor that gets hurt. It's the working folks that get hurt. The rich aren't hurt by that. It's an inconvenience to them, but it devastates the poor. And being the honorable man that he was, he said, that one's not coming out of my committee, because he knew it hurt the poor. And Nancy Pelosi, as Speaker, fired him as chairman of that committee and appointed Henry Waxman, who famously said, you know, to Republicans, we not only don't want your input, we don't need your votes. And they rammed it through. And Dingell's way of doing things would have been to call in, and Joe Barton had commented as former chair, he said, Dingell, if he'd been allowed to be chairman of the health care bill, he would have called in Republicans and said, I want this to be bipartisan. I want your votes. What do you need in the bill that will get your votes? And let's see if we can't make this bipartisan. But that's not what Waxman did. He rammed it through, and America got hurt. America was lied to. And they're being lied to a lot about this Green New Deal. It will be even more devastating to the nation's poor, and especially the working classes of America.
What I'm really concerned about, first off, to your point, I think it's Dennis Prager who draws a distinction between a liberal and a progressive. And he says, liberals I can work with, they're honest, they love America, they care about people. Progressives have their agenda. And what I'm very concerned about is that this was floated from a freshman congressman with the idea, it's kind of the art of the deal that President Trump does. You put out a far out position, and then you settle somewhere in between, so that we all just accept, oh, okay, well...
Well, it's not as bad as it would have been.
Yeah, it's not as bad as it would have. And I'm very concerned that that's the process that's being played right now, that was purposely put out there. It wasn't just accidentally found. It was purposely put out.
I can't help but think that some of the folks like AOC really do want the full Green New Deal.
Which is outright socialism. It's beyond that. It's actually not democratic socialism. It's control. It is a progressive dream of tyranny of the elite over the masses.